Hello, welcome back. Today I wanted to do something related to one of my very favourite subjects, cottages. I love cottages. I've loved cottages long before cottagecore was even a thing. So today I'm going to show you how to make the most adorable little hat pincushion, something that would hang up in my ideal fairy tale cottage. You will need some recycling cardboard. Doesn't matter, you can have a chocolate box if you want. Eat the chocolate first, good excuse. Anything that's sort of thin, sturdy cardboard, not corrugated, because we're going to stick several layers of that together. Paper scissors, fabric scissors, snippers, a pencil, some sort of marking implement, fabric tack glue or something similar, thread in a neutral colour, scraps of fabric. Little ditzy prints work really well. Some vintage Laura Ashley, very neutral. This is a reproduction. I think it's an 1830s reproduction fabric, or even some quirky modern prints and some more vintage Laura Ashley fabric, which is what this one was made from. And then some lace, vintage if you want to use it on this. It's great if you've only got little snippets left from other things. And I used these funny rosette things and some ribbon roses, but honestly any bits and pieces you have, and even if all you've got is just plain ribbon, you can tie them into little bows and put those all the way around. I forgot to mention stuffing. This is what I happen to have. So first of all, we're going to be deciding on the finished size of the brim of the hat. The way I made the decision was, originally I was using Maltesers boxes and I have a set of compasses, so I was able to draw a circle on there. But you could use a small tea plate, or, which would make it slightly bigger, which you could get a tea plate on here, no problem at all. All you need to do is work out what half of the, what the diameter is. So just make sure that it's right to the edge. So that's clearly too big. So if we just squish that in a little bit. Yeah, this is a good demonstration on how not to use compasses. But anyway, and then make yourself a circle. I don't know if you can see that in the light. And then cut them out and use it as a template. So what we'll need 3 circles of this thinner card, and we're just going to glue them all together, and you're not going to see it anyway. So using my template and a pencil, just going to draw all the way around and then cut it out. Try and make it as smooth as possible because the fabric's going to go over the edge of this. So now we've got our 3 bits. So now we're going to stick all of these together and take your glue. And you can use Bostik or Yoo-Hoo, any of those all-purpose glues. The reason why I use this one is you can use it with fabric really well. It's called fabric tack, glue's in the name. And then put your circle on top. Just tap it like that. If one of them's bigger, it'll push it in a bit. Glue on this one. And I'm putting all the printed side, the bit with the words on, I'm putting all those on the inside. When I was using just a Maltesers box, you can't always do that. Or you end up with the black inside, which is fine, but just be aware if you're using light coloured fabrics, you might need to put an extra layer of fabric. It's not massively accurate. There's one side there that's a lot bigger. I think it'll be okay. Put that on one side to dry, and then it's time to make your fabric selection. So for this one, I decided that I wanted to do something a little bit quirky. I don't often buy new fabric. I bought these about a year ago. They're just so cute. I love duck egg blue anyway. So we need to decide which fabric is going on the top and the bottom. This one was easy because I could do the feature of the roses, and it, just looks really nice, all one fabric. I wanted to do one that was like a 2-tone thing. Have a little kind of imagine, because I think that would look really cute. So we're going to have the clock fabric on the crown of the hat, and then we're going to have the keys as this bit. And you can see from the decoration, you can't see very much of that fabric at all, but you will see it underneath, so that's quite nice. What I found when I first made these, this top, the crown part, is actually cut out of that size. circle. So whatever you decide on for the brim makes this bit here. I'm just going to put this all the way down here. I'm going to use my marking implement and just draw around that size there. And then we're going to cut that one out in a minute, but I'll just take it off the fabric. And then for the brim itself, I use the same template, and if I can show you on here, we're going to sew round this in a minute. So as long as this circle that goes around this fits sort of, it doesn't have to be massively accurate. And I'm just going to sort of sketch in a sort of a circle around, and then again let's cut this roughly out of here. So now I'm just going to go back in and trim them into circles. So starting with the brim circle, you need to get some thread. I found it's better to wear it with a double thread, just because you've got to pull it quite tight at the end. So you get some thread, hopefully thread a needle. Ah, yay, you did it. Second attempt, that's not bad. Usually I use I've got a ring light and a magnifying glass. Make a good knot at the end of your thread and then pull it smooth. And then we're going to do a running stitch all the way around and gather this. And you might think that I'm starting quite a distance in, but on some of the circle it is going to be straight to the grain, so it would pull threads off, so you'd find it come unstitched as you pull it. So give yourself a little bit of space, but I mean it's not a huge amount of space, but so, and then just keep stitching. It doesn't have to be perfect. I mean honestly, if you've not done very much hand sewing, this is a really nice little project to just have a go at. You could probably make the whole thing in about, I don't know, maybe about an hour. So when you get to the end, sew all the way up to the knot, and leave your thread there. You can see we're making like a little dish thing. Take your little disc of cardboard, and then we're going to start pulling this. Obviously, because it's a gather, we have to pull it all the way around to make it even. So it just takes a little while. Just be patient, really. You can pull it a lot tighter and try and feed the cardboard in. But the first time I did that, I thought I was being really, really clever, and I ended up folding the cardboard, which defeats the object. So, anyway. See, this is where the knot and the end of the thread are, so you really need to feed round some more gathers. For some reason, I've ended up with it really, really short. Yeah, you can sort of walk it over a little bit. There we go. So you can finesse this as much as you want, you know, but honestly, all of this is going to be hidden underneath the brim of the hat. So now I'm actually just pulling it tight. I pull it really, really, really tight and stitch back through a couple of the pleaty bits, so that sort of puts a stop on it. And then what I do is I stitch across and I make sure it goes under, so the thread's running across the top of the needle, so you've got something to pull back against, because otherwise you'll just rip your way through fabric. And you can see if you just keep stitching across in a sort of a star pattern, eventually you'll get all the way around the circle. So now I'm just going to finish off this end. I'm going to go around over the thread again, make sure it goes over the needle, and then thread your needle back through the loop, make like a little knot, pull it really tight, and that's what it looks like. So for the next bit, thread up your needle again with a double thread, and you're basically going to do the same thing, make the little dish shape, gathering it all up all the way around, and then we're going to stuff that, and I'll show you how to do that. So we made a little dish, and you're just going to put your finger in the middle and pull it a bit, and then ease it round like we did before, but this time we're going to stuff this. So we've got like a little pouchy thing. So I need some stuffing. I mean, I hate using polyester because it's basically spun plastic, but you can use kapok. You can also use feathers if you really wanted to. Unfortunately, I'm really allergic to both of those, and you need something that will stuff this smooth. The best solution I've found so far is to use lavender, actually. but I'm doing another project with lavender in maybe in a few weeks time, and I'm just using up I happen to have some of this, so use what works for you. You can see I'm pulling out little tufts of this so that they're not lumpy, and then I'm stuffing it in. I'm sort of pushing it and rolling it out to the edges like that, and you need to stuff this really, really tight. I think there's probably as much as I'm going to get out at the sides, so we're not going to pull this tight into the middle, like a Suffolk puff or something like that. We're going to leave it about that big. So now I need to do the big domed bit in the middle. So you're going to have to hold this last piece. Then you're going to stitch across, make sure the thread there is going over the needle and you're stitching past that. And I'm going to thread my needle again because we actually need to hold this in place. It's obviously better if you use one continuous piece of thread, but it's not the end of the world. And then I'm going to go across to here, exactly how we did on the brim actually. This is going to help keep the stuffing in place. And now we're going to start shaping it. So you need to make sure that it's round. So I can see that this is a bit pointy here. So I'm going to stitch across there. And this is a bit pointy here. So I'm just going to tie this off now. It'll stop the stuffing coming out. That's the main thing. Try and get it as round as possible. You just sort of manipulate it really into a ball shape. You can still move some of these pleats around. I think that's the best we're going to get. So now we're going to do the fun bit, is deciding how we want to decorate it. So with this one, I used these sort of little rosette things and I stuck those on first because they're quite big. So this is what it would look like if you use just these rosettes. So you can play with this as much as you want till you get, how you want it to look. So this is what I did on that one. It's really effective. So you can just see how many you need, where they need to go roughly, and try it out. Obviously that goes in the middle. And you can see it starts to cover up the multitude of errors that were made earlier on. So that's a possibility. You can also use lace like this. So how you measure how much you need is hold it around the brim like this, and then you know that it's going to fit all the way around. Then thread up a needle. On a vintage lace like this, you can see that it's quite open here, but there's an edge here, so you need to get your knot in that bit. You're just going to do like a running stitch through this woven edge. I'm not pulling it too tight, but it'll start to curl round, so you only want it to gather a bit. And it just saves you doing all that pleating and gluing. Guess who gathered the lace too tight? So I snipped off the knot off of one end and just eased it out slightly. By the time it's glued down and the top's been glued onto it, you won't be able to tell. I'm going to start gluing here. I'm going to put a dot on there. I'm going to follow that all the way around here, and then lift it on very carefully. That line of glue will get us roughly where we want it to be. So what we're trying to do, make sure it's sort of even to the end of the brim as much as you can. And now we're going to glue on this bit. So we're going to go all the way around. I don't know if you can see what I'm doing. All the way around here. A little dollop in the middle as well. And it acts a little bit like a contact adhesive. So a few seconds or so is not bad. And then we want to glue all the way around here. Don't worry if you're not quick. You've got time. Take the brim of the hat and put it down as much in the middle as you can, and then put your hand on it and use the weight of your hand and press it down, and you're going to have to sit like this for a few minutes.
Alternatively, you could just use random things to weight it down and go make yourself a cup of tea like I did. And this one came out a little bit flatter, not because of the weight, but I think I put the glue a little bit far out to make sure all the weirdness was covered up. And then the next thing I decided to do was to use some ribbon roses to stick around to make it sort of more defined as a hat. And these ribbon roses were terrible. I don't know where they came from. The leaves kept falling off the backs of them, so I was really searching through for the good ones. But I think it looks okay. And then you just need to glue them on with a little dot of Fabri-Tac and press them into sort of the crease between the hat brim and the hat crown, and that will help add the definition. And I'm sitting here doing the voiceover, waving my hands around, which you can't see, showing you how to do it. Oh, now I want to make myself a hat that looks like that. Why don't people wear hats anymore? That would be so nice. Oh, it reminds me of that film which I watched this week. I don't know if anybody remembers it. Somewhere in Time, with Christopher Reeve and is it Jane Seymour? It reminds me of that sort of Edwardian style, I suppose. And then when you've finished sticking on all the roses and things, you can decide if you want to have like a little lace tail or a ribbon tail. I did have a beautiful bit of vintage ribbon, but I just couldn't get it to sit in a bow properly. So I decided to just peel off one of the roses, pop the lace underneath and put the rose back on top. And then you can also make a little hanging loop if you wanted to sort of hang it from a doorknob or a hook or something. We made a ton of these. I'm quite old. We made a ton of these in the 80s. It was like a real thing, you know. Everybody loved having these hanging up in their bedrooms. And that's the finished item. I hope you have a go at it. It's great because you will have most of the things hanging around if you like doing sewing or crafts and stuff. And they make fantastic gifts. I gave one to my mum for Christmas, and she was just over the moon. And I think we also sent one to a friend in America as well, all made out of Liberty print and vintage lace. And can I just say thank you to all my new subscribers. And if you like this channel and you've watched my videos, please consider subscribing. And then you can see I'm going to do a little bonus video in about a week's time. And if you subscribe and press the bell, you'll get notified and then you can watch it. Yay! Hope you have a good week. Bye.